Satoru Suzuki, a game developer from Japan, passed away in his sleep and woke up in a fantasy world strikingly similar to the game he had been creating. There, he encountered a horde of monsters and, unexpectedly, became incredibly powerful. Determined to treat this new life as a permanent vacation, he freed several enslaved girls, promising to protect them, offer them a warm home, and build a loving family together since they had nowhere else to go. After days of overwork, Satoru had been camping in the office with his co-workers, but when he woke up, he realized he had been transported to another world. Since the place looked like one of his fantasy RPGs, and he hadn't met a goddess or been hit by a truck, he assumed it was just a dream, one where he was a younger version of himself. He discovered that he could access the map and other game features, and soon realized he was in a Dragon Valley with something approaching. Using a new player skill bonus, Satoru explored the area and found an army of level 50 lizardmen coming his way. At level 1, he knew he didn't stand a chance, but he was spotted. An arrow grazed him, triggering pain and fear resistances. That's when he realized it wasn't a dream. Panicking, he tried using the special meteor shower skill, but all 3 attempts seemed to fail. Believing he would die due to a bug, he was shocked when the skill suddenly activated all at once, obliterating the entire lizardmen army and accidentally killing the dragon god that lived in the valley. By defeating the monsters, Satoru jumped to level 310 and obtained extremely rare items, along with the titles Conqueror of the Dragon Valley and Godslayer. When the dust settled, he found the lizardmen captain still alive, though badly injured, challenging him to a duel. Reluctantly, Satoru picked up a sword and, after dodging a few attacks, threw the weapon, defeating the captain. Relieved, Satoru tried to find a button to exit the game, but realized there were no options for settings or support. While checking his stats, he discovered that all his attributes were maxed out and that the only available skills were Map and Meteor Shower. He decided to test the skill again, enhancing it to its limit and firing it in a distant area. The power was so devastating that it destroyed the entire region, forcing Satoru to sprint like an athlete to escape the aftermath. He crossed a barrier field that shielded him from the debris but realized the ability was far too dangerous to use again. Exhausted, Satoru found a canteen with infinite water, capable of solving drought problems anywhere. He examined the items he had collected, realizing he was rich across several kingdoms and possessed weapons like sacred swords and magical arms. Donning a cloak and comfortable shoes, he sat down to plan his next steps in this new world. Around a campfire, Satoru reviewed his skills and noticed they were far less impressive than he expected, with many needing to be unlocked manually. He activated and improved the most useful ones, then decided to sleep, understanding that he would gain new skills by performing actions rather than merely leveling up. The next morning, he ran through the surroundings, admiring the scenery until he reached a place called the Fortress of Soldiers, near a city. Using his map, he discovered that a level 30 wyvern was flying toward the city. He jumped for a better look, but ended up colliding with the wyvern and crashing to the ground unscathed. When he threw a rock at the creature, his strength frightened it, causing it to flee toward the city. Satoru chased after it and found a battalion of soldiers attempting to bring it down. With his enhanced senses, he observed and listened to the soldiers but couldn't understand what they were saying. He maxed out his language comprehension skill and discovered they were preparing an attack. The soldiers drove the wyvern away with spears, distracted it with arrows, and the mages used wind magic to throw it off balance, sending it crashing down. One mage struck it with lightning, injuring and enraging the creature as it tried to fly off again. At that moment, a wind mage soldier named Xena cast a tornado spell to stop it, but the spell ricocheted and sent her flying. Xena managed to slow her fall with magic, and Satoru, nearby, leaped to catch her, earning the title of Savior. The young woman, deeply moved, thanked him, and introduced herself as a 17-year-old wind magic user, mentioning she didn't have a boyfriend. Satoru thought that if he were still in school, he might have fallen for her. Soon after, Xena's friends arrived, suspicious of Satoru. He unlocked and maxed out his lie and excuse skills, claiming to be a traveling merchant whose horse had run off after a meteor shower, taking his items and papers with it. They believed him, and the soldiers escorted him to the medieval city to register at the Merchants Guild. There, Satoru used a skill to conceal his true status from the magic device. He learned that in this kingdom, 15-year-olds were already considered adults, but being level 1 was seen as pathetic. After obtaining his documents and a visa to live in the city, Satoru found an inn where a 13-year-old girl named Martha grabbed his hand to guide him to a room. Despite her young age, she seemed very mature, and Satoru realized her equally striking mother was the reason. At the inn, Satu rented a room for 10 days, and during dinner, learned that a demon lord had once been defeated by a hero. Later, Martha took him to the market to shop. There, Satu witnessed two demi-human slave girls being abused and stepped in to help them. The girls were grateful, and Martha explained that 20% of the city's population consisted of slaves, with demi-humans being particularly despised. That night, Satu left his room and climbed to a high point overlooking the city and valley. He decided to explore every beautiful place in this world before thinking about how to return home. The next morning, Xena took a day off to thank him, showing him around the city. They strolled through the market, tasting all kinds of food, and without a care in the world, Satu even tried bat wings. As they walked together, he asked about spells, and Xena explained they weren't words, but strange sounds that were hard to master. She took him to a church where a mural depicted a hero fighting the demon lord. Xena spoke of the sacred sword that glowed blue in the hero's hands, while Satu reflected that, despite his impressive titles, he didn't see himself as a hero. While riding a carriage, they discussed heroes and demons when they spotted an enraged crowd stoning the girls Satu had helped. A fanatic priest from a violent church accused them of being demon descendants and of selling fake holy stones to the public. As Satu analyzed the situation, he discovered that the girl's master was actually a bandit. He led a gang that profited through violence, selling counterfeit holy stones in partnership with the corrupt priest. Xena used her windshield to protect the girls, while Satu moved discreetly, defeating the bandit and throwing him before the crowd, exposing his scheme. But something far darker emerged. A demon had been possessing the man's body. The demon killed the priest before anyone could react. Satu rushed to free the girls, but soon noticed an even greater threat. A demon shaped like a giant eye, planning to plunge the city into chaos to please its master. Xena called for reinforcements, but the demon conjured a magic portal that swallowed everyone in the area, transporting them to a labyrinth. There, Satu found himself with the three demi-human girls. He comforted them, gave them names: Tama, the cat girl, Pochi, the dog girl, and Liza, the girl with scales, and offered them clothes, medicine, and food. Grateful, the girls accepted Satu as their new master. Using his map skill, Satu charted the labyrinth's layout and located Xena and the soldiers. Though he wanted to find her, the girls insisted they didn't want to be left alone, so he brought them along. He handed Liza a sword and decided to use his magical weapon. During their exploration, they encountered a giant insect monster devouring a person. Satu hid, attacked the creature with his weapon, and defeated it. After dismantling the monster's body, he gained new skills and crafted a weapon from its parts. Liza extracted the monster's core, explaining it was valuable, and Satu gifted her the spear he had just made. Liza then handed the sword to Tama. As they continued exploring, they faced a giant caterpillar. Satu shot it and asked Tama and Liza to attack it to gain experience. In another battle, he went hunting with Pochi, who panicked and fled. Satu defeated the monster alone and comforted her, earning the title of Tamer. Though the title felt odd to him, the group continued hunting monsters, eating, resting, and gathering items, skills, and experience. The next day, Liza taught Satu how to hunt properly, showing him how to pierce monster cores. Tama discovered a strange wall revealing a hidden door. They followed it to a nest of spiders, where they found people trapped in cocoons of webbing. Satu freed them, including a noble named Jin and a slave merchant, both deeply grateful for his help. Leaving the spider nest, they reach a room where soldiers are fighting slimes. Satu asks the girls to help the soldiers while he sprints off to save Xena, who is fighting alone. She greets him with an emotional hug, but a priest jokes that they should flirt after getting out of the labyrinth. While the priest heals the wounded, Satu introduces the girls to Xena. In another chamber, soldiers try to open a door and find a treasure chest. When they open it, the giant eye-shaped demon reappears, laughing and declaring he enjoyed the show. The soldiers surround the demon as Jin and Xena attack it with magic. However, the demon starts firing projectiles at the soldiers and uses hypnosis abilities. Satu resists the spell, but many around him have already succumbed, leaving the situation critical as soldiers fight each other under the demon's hypnosis. Satu knocks out the slave girls to keep them from hurting anyone. Jin then casts his most powerful fire magic, which, though it doesn't deal direct damage to the demon, manages to break the hypnosis. Satu decides to enter the fray, but is attacked by a wolf monster. During the struggle, they slam into a wall that turns out to be a trap and plunge into a cavern. As he falls, Satu spots an exit and leaps to reach it, with the wolf in pursuit. He summons his sacred sword and slays the monster with a single strike, but suffers damage from using it, forcing him to sheath it again. Determined to save the others, Satu dons a disguise to hide his identity and returns to the fight. He hurls a stone at the demon, interrupting its attacks and giving Jin and the priests an opening to strike. However, the demon fixes all its attention on Satu. The demon launches projectiles at him, which he dodges with agility, and he answers with another stone, slamming the demon into the ceiling. As it falls, the demon makes a last-ditch effort to summon its master, a level 62 demon lord, part of the Demon King's inner circle. The demon lord appears, pleased with his subordinate's work, and devours him, absorbing him into his being. The demon lord unleashes a shockwave that throws everyone back. Satu shields Xena and the slave girls as chaos erupts. Resolute in facing this new threat, he draws his sacred sword. However, the demon lord notices the blade doesn't glow blue, indicating Satu hasn't been recognized as a hero. The demon lord begins his assault using lightning magic, savage claws, and petrifying saliva. Even so, Satu withstands it all, with Xena and the others distracting the demon. Satu finds an opening to strike with his magical weapon. He realizes magic is extremely effective against demons. He switches his sword for a magic staff, maxes out his fire shot skill, and creates a colossal explosion, catching the demon lord off guard. Seizing the opening, Satu summons a katana and, remembering he doesn't need to be a hero to vanquish evil, invokes his Godslayer title. He strikes the demon lord with precision, defeating him for good. The demon vanishes, and Satu receives the titles Demon Slayer and Conqueror of the Labyrinth. Upon leaving the labyrinth, Satu is greeted by Xena and realizes that, beyond the titles, he's now known as a hero. He decides to officially free the 3 slave girls, but they choose to stay by his side. The slave merchant suggests he buy more slaves and presents 2 sisters, Lulu and Arisa. To his surprise, Arisa calls him by name in impeccable Japanese. To confirm his suspicion, Satu whispers in Japanese that there's a spider in her hair, and she reacts immediately, revealing that Arisa is a compatriot. He decides to buy her and her sister Lulu. The 2 join the group, and Arisa shows no prejudice against demi-humans, finding Tama and Pochi adorable. Lulu, shy, barely speaks. Satu takes the group out to eat, buys clothes for the sisters, and brings them back to the inn. However, the townsfolk protest the presence of demi-humans. Arisa resolves the situation by using magic to sway tempers, though Satu doesn't notice. At the inn, the 3 original girls rest in the stable while the sisters share a room with Satu. Despite the sisters' attempts to serve Satu more intimately, he stands firm and refuses their advances, showing his true strength of character. While Lulu sleeps, Arisa tells Satu he's exactly her type and that she wants to be involved with him. Despite having a young body, she says she has the mind of a mature Japanese woman who reincarnated after death. Satu is shocked to hear this, and Arisa remarks that he seems to have been transferred or summoned to this world, not reincarnated like her. He jokes that Truxie is innocent, but says he doesn't know how he got there. Reading Arisa's status, Satu discovers she has titles like Witch of the Lost Kingdom and Mad Princess, obtained at age 11, and that she's talented with psychic magic. Curious, he asks how she became a slave, and Arisa reveals she reincarnated as a princess and used her knowledge to help her kingdom, but was betrayed. Her kingdom was seized, her family executed, and she ended up enslaved. A demon destroyed the castle, and she fled with her sister Lulu until a slave trader found them. The next morning, Xena visits Satu but is devastated to see him in a room with 2 girls. Fleeing in tears, she's caught by Satu, who jumps out the window and reassures her using his persuasion skill. He calms her and wins her over with compliments. To make amends, he takes her shopping, leaving Arisa in charge of chores. While the girls shop for clothes and essentials, Xena is impressed by how kindly he treats his slaves. Determined to find better accommodations for the girls, Satu searches for lodgings that accept demi-humans, since he can't leave them sleeping in sheds. Xena accompanies him to Nadi's shop, a real estate agent, who shows them several problematic properties. They decide to take a break and head to the market, where they meet the girls in new outfits. Arisa dyed her hair gold, since purple hair brings bad luck. Planning to watch a play, Sato and Xena end up going with the girls. They watch a version of Romeo and Juliet where a mage named Zem loves a princess but is killed by her fiancé, who also destroys his family. The princess takes her own life, but the mage returns from the dead to seek revenge. However, he fails and is defeated by a holy knight. Afterwards, Satu meets a woman who explains the true story. The fiancé was a noble who kidnapped a commoner's wife. The mage was her real husband, who took revenge before being killed by the knights. Xena and Arisa debate the princess from the play. Xena thinks it was wrong for her to break an arranged engagement, while Arisa asks whether Xena would accept a forced marriage, leaving her speechless. Arisa changes the subject, but Xena still seems troubled. Satu walks her home, where they find her friends injured after fighting flying ants drawn to rat knights in the city. As they analyze the situation, Tama and Pochi hunt more ants. Satu uses his skill to locate an army heading toward the city. The magic barrier holds back some of the creatures, but many slip through. He orders Arisa to hide with Lulu, while Tama and Pochi guard the lodging. He heads out with Liza to defend the gate, where Xena and soldiers are already fighting with arrows and magic. After taking down several ants, Satu realizes one has invaded the general store. Racing to help, he saves Nadi from being hurt. Then the manager, Usha, appears and rescues her using his powders. He thanks them with a kiss on the cheek. Satu discovers Usha is an elf who speaks only one word at a time. When he returns, the city is already safe. That night, he and the group finally rest, preparing for the next challenge. Satu is eating well when he notices Lulu isn't feeling okay. He goes to buy medicine but ends up encountering monsters called shadow trails, chasing someone in an alley. They notice him and attack. Satu dodges the tentacles and shoots them. He finds a wounded rat soldier who asks him to take care of the princess, as he doesn't know if he'll survive. Satu gives first aid and carries him to the general store, using his lockpicking skills. Ira and Emmy come out of the room, and he asks for help. The reason was the girl wrapped in cloths, an elf named Mia. When she opens her eyes, Mia sees Satu glowing and comments that he's handsome before fainting. The rat soldier is gravely injured. Ira runs to fetch a doctor. The next morning, Satu returns to the room and tells Arisa about the previous night. After getting ready, he heads back to the store, where Nadi explains that Mia suffers from mana deficiency but will recover. She's conscious, and Satu learns Mia has the gift of seeing spirits and, like other elves, speaks one word at a time. Mia asks Satu to stay, but he leaves to tell the girls about the elf princess. They become curious and go see her in the room. They stay near Mia, who still wants Satu to remain. Later, Nadi asks if he wants to buy a wagon, and he decides to purchase one. Lulu teaches him how to drive since she has experience. Despite being shy, she speaks animatedly about her sister while teaching Satu. He uses skill points to master driving, but notices he's being watched. A shadow owl is staring straight at him. When they return, the weather is turning stormy, but the owl follows him to the city. At the general store, Satu learns the rat knight is fine and goes to speak with him. He reveals that Mia was kidnapped by a mage but escaped and found their group, who brought her there so Xena could help her. Satu is suspicious of the mage but says nothing. Screams come from the living room. The girls are afraid of thunder. They all cling to Satu, and a terrified Mia manages to speak in full sentences. Suddenly, the shadow owl appears in the room and the mage teleports in. The rat knight attacks him, but he uses powerful psychic magic, spreading fear. Satu is affected too, but Arisa frees him with her skill, giving him time to max out his resistance to psychic magic. He reads the status of the mage named Zen, the Raylish, the same name as the mage from the play. Zen declares he came to take Mia. Satu steps in front of the girl saying he won't allow it. Zen dares him to stop him by force. Satu tries to punch him, but his fist passes through the mage, who uses shadowy tentacles to capture him. Arisa attacks to no effect and is countered with tentacles that Satu destroys. Usha protects Mia, while Satu breaks free and cuts down the tentacles assaulting Arisa and Ira. Zen is surprised by his strength. Arisa prepares her unique skill while Satu distracts Zen. When she unleashes the attack, Zen blocks it at the last second and praises her power. As her energy runs out, Arisa faints and her hair turns back to purple. Zen realizes she's a reincarnator too. Zen tells Satu he must stop the girl from using her unique skill or she'll soon be consumed by the gods. With that warning, he kidnaps Mia and vanishes into the floor, telling Satu to follow him to the Berceau if he isn't afraid of death. Satu jumps after him at once, finding himself in total darkness where his map skill doesn't work. He focuses and releases enough energy to shatter the shadowy space, emerging into a palace. Zen, surprised he escaped the shadow prison, says this is the boss room of the Berceau, and only those who clear every trial can come here, earn the title of hero, and challenge him. Zen then snaps his fingers and teleports Satu outside, where he faces high mountains all around and a massive tree called the Berceau de Toya. Satu reaches the tree's gate and reads a warning that it's an elven training facility and that other species should enter at their own risk. He steps in with confidence and encounters a level 1 goblin, which he sends to the afterlife with a punch. He discovers the Berceau has 200 floors and that the monsters get stronger the higher you go. He starts searching for secret events and finds the first on floor 21 in the form of a dryad. She's tired and grumpy, unwilling to fight or do her job, but upon seeing Satu, she takes an interest in him and steals mana from him with a kiss. This opens a secret door leading to the laboratory of Toya, the elf who created the tower. Satu reads his diary and learns the place was designed to train young elves to fight in dungeons since they easily gave up on life, but it was a failed project that had to be shut down. Toya was of the same family tree as Uzair and Mia, and Satu realizes this might be why she was kidnapped. He leaves and asks the dryad if she can take him to the upper floors. She points to a circle of mushrooms that would take him to the 100th floor. Upon arriving at the 100th, he steps into the guardian knight's room and finds 3 clumsy homunculi and a giant iron golem. Girls 5, 6, and 7 gear up and tell Satu he must defeat the iron golem to proceed to the next floor. He sees the word ENT on the golem's forehead and shoots the first letter, completing the word, which reveals the golem's weakness. It's defeated instantly. The trio of homunculi are surprised, though expressionless, and number 7 decides to stay behind so her friends can escape. They attack Satu with ice shots, but he dodges and drops number 7 with a punch, allowing the others to flee. Satu lays her down and checks his inventory, pulling the items he needs, while the still unconscious girl apologizes to her master and cries. He moves on to the next floor, where he finds a dehydrated dryad he almost mistakes for dead. With a few liters of water and mana-restoring kisses, she recovers and sends him to the 188th floor, where he faces insects devouring the giant tree from within. He takes them out with a single spear attack, but that creates a hole in the walls. Satu looks out and sees a breathtaking landscape before continuing. Upon reaching the boss room, he's surprised by how quickly he arrived. Before Satu can fight, Zen-El says he'll have to defeat a powerful enemy to earn the hero's title, the lost sacred sword, and the right to challenge him. Satu doesn't understand what Zen gains from this, but the mage Uniad summons homunculi and golems, revealing that girls 1 through 8 are present, except for number 7. Zen says that at this rate Satu will die, so to balance the fight, he casts the buff spell Limit Break on Satu and the homunculi. However, Satu's title rejects the spell. The mage then uses a magic lift and ascends with Mia. Satu is determined to save her, but there's no time to think. The homunculus girls fire arrows at him and, together with the golems, reinforce their hands and feet with magic before charging. Satu summons his spear and uses its power to pierce and explode the iron golems, but the homunculi attack next. Since he can't win against them with only his spear, Satu switches to close combat. He leaps, and when they loose arrows again, he uses his superior mobility to dodge every shot, striking them with a whirlwind kick. Even knocked down, the girls rise again and this time manage to overwhelm him and cut his spear. However, Satu uses his skill to destroy their weapons as well. Only number 1 remains, attacking in a fury, but Satu drops her with a punch, and she asks him to grant her master's wish. Satu goes to Zen, who applauds and hands over the sacred sword promised to the hero. Then he asks the mage what his true wish was. Zen answers that he sought a hero strong enough to kill him and end his suffering. He tells his story. He was unjustly killed in his first life, and God reincarnated him in this world, where everything seemed perfect. But his happiness ended when a cruel noble kidnapped his wife, executed him on false charges, murdered his family, and after violating his wife, killed her too. However, thanks to God's blessing, he didn't die. He turned his relatives into undead, destroyed the wicked noble and his family. But when he tried to die, God's blessing prevented it, and now he wished the hero would kill him so he could reunite with his wife. Satu, taking the sacred sword, strikes Zen with force. The mage Uniad laughs with joy, saying he can finally be reunited with his wife. When he vanishes, a ring falls from his body. Satu picks it up and hears the voices of 2 children coming from 2 streams of smoke rising from Zen's ashes. The voices laugh and tell the hero they'll meet him again. Instinctively, Satu slashes the smoke before asking anything, but at that moment, the Berceau system announces it has entered self-destruct mode. Satu wakes Mia and carries her out, discovering that Zen had already set it to send her home in the event of his death. Satu decides to escape with her, but he's also worried about the rest of his friends and allies. He sets her down with the enemies he just defeated and promises to return soon. Mia teleports away, and Satu runs to find number 7 as the tower collapses and turns to salt. He finds a shortcut and leaps out of the tree. In doing so, he arrives in time to rescue number 7, bringing her to a dryad who teleports them out in exchange for some seeds and magical power. However, they're not safe even at the checkpoint, as a gigantic wave of salt from the tower's collapse approaches. Satu sprints at full speed with the girl, crossing a lake. He thinks it might be possible to stop the salt wave using steam power, so he fires as many fireballs as he can over the lake. After a great effort, he finally reduces the salt wave enough to escape it, watching the sunrise. Later, he returns to his girls who are all worried about him, especially Liza and Arisa, who are in tears. Then Satu remembers what Zen L said about controlling Arisa's divine power so it won't consume her. He comforts her, and the other girls start crying too. At that moment, Ira and Mia arrive to greet him, and Mia thanks him formally as the princess of the elves. It's the homunculus girls' turn to thank Satu, saying that before becoming his servants, they will deliver their master's wedding ring to his wife's grave. Meanwhile, number 7 stays by Satu's side since she won the rock, paper, scissors tournament. Xena too had been worried when he vanished, but is relieved to see him back, though surprised to learn he's heading to the elves' village to escort Mia. She asks Satu to make a pinky promise that he'll return. He agrees, and, as a token of affection, gives her the earrings she wanted earlier. With preparations complete, Satu and his group say goodbye to their friends and set off. But since Xena isn't among them, he's a little upset. Eventually, she shows up not only to say farewell, but also to tell him that next year her brother will take over as head of the family, and has promised she can do whatever she wants. She asks Satu to take her with him when the time comes, and he agrees, which makes her happy. And so they finally depart for the elves' village, and Satu can't stay sad for long since the girls around him are enough to distract him during the journey. They enjoy a relaxed time together. One day, Pochi and Tama hunt some prey and end up filthy in the process. Satu decides to create a spell to clean them. Looking at Zen's magic notes, he's surprised to see the symbols resemble the programming languages he knew. So he decides to create the cleaning spell. The next day, when he gets dirty while hunting, he decides to test the spell with Mia's help, and the spell is a success. At night, while the girls sleep, Satu stands watch and decides to experiment with his item box and magic storage. He discovers that items stored in the box remain unchanged regardless of how much time passes, while items stored with the other method undergo changes. The next day, they continue their journey and encounter a group of ratmen led by their captain, who thanks Satu for saving them, taking them to the graves of their friends who died protecting the elf princess. Mia sings a farewell song for their souls, sending them to the other side. The rat captain presents Satu with a bell made by the elves so he can call the rat soldiers whenever he needs help. The group continues traveling, and the next day Satu witnesses a petty noble assaulting a commoner with his horse before riding off, mocking Satu. When he observes him, Lisa reminds Satu that this was the guard who had tried to steal monster cores earlier. Satu doesn't mind and helps the injured man with a healing potion. Arisa scolds him, asking him to save some potions for emergencies, and Satu agrees. He decides to use the break to practice alchemy and make medicine. First, he creates a low-quality potion, but using a transmutation board and the knowledge he received from Zen, he manages to produce a top-quality potion. However, Satu discovers that to store the potion properly, he'll need special flasks, or the potions will spoil. For now, he can store them in his item box. At night, Satu decides to try creating magic items. The first thing he attempts is a basic circuit. Curious, Arisa asks what it does, and Satu replies that he doesn't know yet. The circuit actually does nothing besides make the magic circulate in loops, which disappoints Arisa. However, when Satu tries to test it, the circuit overloads with magic and explodes. The next day, Satu goes to a nearby city to buy some medicinal ingredients and flasks. On the way to the alchemy shop, he runs into the con artist noble in disguise. Inside the shop, the local alchemist tells him she's out of flasks and other important items, and that if he wants something special, he'll have to wait. Satu will have to trade monster cores, but he knows private trading of cores is illegal, so he sends Liza back and, in disguise, goes to the shop to buy some magic scrolls using the cores. However, he can only get a few basic, non-combat spells, but he learns them before deciding to explore the areas unmarked on the map. He gets lost in the forest at night and ends up entering a disorienting barrier that has no effect on him, and steps into the Forest of Illusions, a witch's territory. As soon as he enters, Tell, the witch's apprentice, attacks the intruder with mechanical golems and earth magic, but Satu is strong enough to dodge and block all her attacks. After losing the fight, Tell cries and calls her master, who appears on a giant sparrow. The old witch bows to Satu since the bell he received from the rats means he's a good friend of the elves. She invites him to stay with her and apologizes for her apprentice's rudeness. She had been making potions as part of an agreement with the count who governs the nearby city. When Satu asks if he can learn something from her, the witch agrees to teach him a special recipe in exchange for him performing a service for her. Satu accepts, and the witch creates a magical rainbow path that looks like it was made by a pride parade, which makes Satu follow the trail with a light heart. Following the path, he delivers a letter from the witch to the forest spirits, getting surrounded by shining butterflies. He enjoys the scene but soon returns to the city where Arisa is waiting furiously. The next day, he goes to the tavern and overhears some people conspiring, but he can't quite grasp what's going on, since it's nobles scheming against each other. There, he meets a potter who makes potion flasks but warns him there are strict rules about it. The only way around those rules would be to create his own flasks, and the potter invites him to visit his studio. However, when he gets there, Arisa and the other girls show up and drag him to his room to keep him from getting even more delayed. The next day, on the way to the potter's studio, Satu notices on the map that Tell is being pursued by some people and rushes to help her. She was transporting the potions she had made the day before, and a group was trying to steal them. Satu and his girls manage to save Tell and get her into the city, but someone bumps into her and destroys more than half of the potions she was carrying. Tell cries, since she needs to deliver 300 potions by nightfall to maintain the peace pact between the witch and the count. Satu suggests they first use the potions that are still good, and they meet Silver, the count's aide, who is overseeing the estate. Hearing his voice and noticing the con artist at his side, Satu understands what's happening. Silver is the one behind the tavern conspiracy and wants to make the witch break the pact, creating a pretext to invade the forest and build a city there. Satu can't let that happen, so he uses his communication skills to persuade Silver to accept the high-quality potions even if they weren't made by the witch. He says he's already met the witch and knows the potion recipe, and asks Silver to formalize his agreement in writing. Sweating nervously, Silver gives in. Meanwhile, Tell and the other two young witches head out, and Satu's other girls buy all the necessary ingredients, but the big hurdle is still acquiring the special flasks. Satu realizes the con artist was the one who bought all the flasks, trying to prevent the witch from having a second chance. He decides to go directly to the potter, who had promised to let him make his own flasks, and although it's impossible to produce 200 flasks by night, the potter allows him to use his workshop while Arisa and Tell brew the potions. The glass turns out perfect, but the potter says it needs to dry in the sun for a few days before going into the kiln. To solve that, Satu invents a spell to remove excess moisture from the flasks, and Mia executes it perfectly. They keep making and drying the flasks while the other side prepares the potions. When everything is ready, the potter puts the flasks in the kiln to bake and then cool them. But the swindler shows up again, saying it's illegal to make flasks without the Lord's permission, and destroys the kiln before leaving, saying they still need to deliver the potions by day's end. The girls cry, thinking they've failed, but Satu uses his storage magic to stash all the flasks safely. He then realizes Tell's hat was actually a bird, the witch's familiar, and sends her a message. He then explains storage to Arisa and tries to pull a flask out of there, but it's very hot and shatters due to the sudden drop in temperature. They don't have time to fix the kiln, but Satu finds another way to cool them. With all the flasks, the group prepares to deliver the medicine to the aide. When they ask him to sign the receipt, he refuses and waits for the sun to set to break the pact. But then the count appears and says he'll sign the receipt, leaving Silver in shock. Upon meeting him, the generous count says the witch informed him of his aide's swindles and that he immediately fired him. Realizing he's been defeated, Silver makes one last attempt and uses magic to attack his former master, who defends himself, saying he can't be harmed by such weak spells in his own territory. He draws his sword to punish Silver with death, but Satu steps in and pacifically defeats both villains. The count asks why he interfered, and Satu replies that there were children watching and he didn't want them to see that. The noble is impressed. Satu says goodbye to his friends. Tell gives him a magic lantern, and the witch grants him her blessing and the title Friend of the Witch. Sato continues his journey with his girls vying for his attention, especially Arisa, who hasn't given up hope of sleeping with him. Satu then sends a letter to Xena, telling her about his travels and how he's been enjoying life. She smiles as she reads it, and he tells her he wants to see her too, and that, when the time comes, he'll come for her.